What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and it looks like Marvel Studios might be moving some movies around a little bit. And according to the recent reports about this, the reason for it is really quite dumb, because what we're hearing is that it really comes down to Spider-Man 4 and Sony's involvement with Spider-Man 4. So in a way, it looks like Sony might be causing some change in scheduling for Marvel Studios, which again is kind of dumb, because right now it seems that they are interfering with what Marvel Studios wants with Spider-Man 4, including when Marvel Studios wants to release it. And at this point, there have been several reports on, we'll call it the Sony Marvel situation. So let's start really from kind of the beginning and then work our way up to where we are now with these recent reports. And of course, if you're new to the channel and want to stay up to date on the MCU, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. So in the past few weeks, we've had several reports about this, but one originally came from the insider Daniel RPK, and basically he stated that Sony wants Spider-Man 4 to be a big multiversal movie. They want Tobey Maguire back, Andrew Garfield back, possibly even adding more Spider-Man characters, maybe a live-action Spider-Gwen, a live-action Miles Morales. We're not sure. All we know is they want a huge multiversal film for Spider-Man 4, and you'd imagine that they want to go bigger than Spider-Man No Way Home, since that was already a really big multiversal film. But the second half to Daniel RPK's report is that Marvel Studios wants it to be a grounded film. And that's really what Spider-Man No Way Home set up at the end. Spider-Man finally on his own in the MCU, not having anybody, which is what fans have really wanted for a pretty long time in regards to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Tom Holland finally on his own, literally having nobody. No more Tony Stark, no more Happy, no more Aunt May, no more Nick Fury, although in Far From Home, he really technically didn't have Nick Fury. It was Talos and his wife. And no more Avengers. Nobody knows who Peter Parker is, although they do know who Spider-Man is still. But from what we had heard about the current plot that Marvel Studios had planned for Spider-Man 4, it looked like it was going to be a pretty grounded film, with possibly Daredevil and Ant-Man showing up. And Kingpin was going to play a pretty big role in this, as well as the mayor of New York City. And as the mayor, he makes a law that makes it illegal to be a vigilante. That's what the movie was primarily going to be about, with Kingpin not being the main villain of the movie, but being kind of the main villain behind the other villains that are after Spider-Man. That really does tie into the street level side of the MCU, with Echo, with Hawkeye, and with the upcoming Daredevil Born Again series, with the Punisher being in that as well, with Spider-Man picking up with Kingpin where he left off with all those other stories. This sounds pretty good, and it would be really cool to see Spider-Man fight many different villains that Kingpin has hired or ordered, since they work for him, to go and get Spider-Man. Then he has Ant-Man and Daredevil there, not as mentors, but as allies who can offer advice to him, but really not be the father figures, kind of like just older friends. Because he would probably face the choice of, do I continue to be a so-called vigilante and fight crime and help people, or do I stop because it's illegal? Honestly, the premise for that sounds amazing, because that is a real internal struggle that one might have. If you put yourself in Peter Parker's shoes, that could be a real thing, and we of course know he's going to choose to continue to be Spider-Man. So that's what Marvel Studios wants, but Sony, on the other hand, since of course they do own the rights to Spider-Man and they have made a contract with Marvel Studios, of course we don't know the intricate details of that, but it sounds like they basically do get a say in what happens in the next Spider-Man films. And they want this to be a huge movie, probably because their other franchises besides the Into the Spider-Verse franchise aren't doing too hot. Their so-called live-action Spider-Verse is really not doing well right now, especially if you've seen Madam Web, you know. Now, Sony wanting Spider-Man to be a particular way typically isn't a huge problem. Kevin Feige usually has a pretty good handle on the situation and usually convinces Sony that they basically know what's best. In fact, that's how Spider-Man got in the MCU in the first place. Amy Pascal wanted to consult with Kevin Feige about The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and Kevin Feige basically said, hey, it's not going to work. You're not going to do it right. Give Spider-Man to the MCU. We'll do it right and be way more successful, and you'll make more money because we'll share the profits. That's how Spider-Man got to the MCU. So typically, Kevin Feige has a handle on it, but recently we've gotten a lot of reports that Marvel Studios might be changing their schedule for their entire release slate because of Spider-Man 4. So a few days ago, insider Jeff Snyder from the InSnyder.com stated that Disney won't want to release 4 Marvel movies in 1 year, and they're looking to potentially move the Fantastic Four to November of 2025 and Blade to 2026. And this is reportedly because Sony wants Spider-Man 4 to release in in 2025, but Kevin Feige is spread a little too thin right now to work on the film. According to Alex Perez from thecosmiccircus.com, he stated that Sony's untitled Marvel film that is slated for June 25th of 2025 is indeed Spider-Man 4, and Sony has wanted to release it then on that date for years now. He also stated that they could compromise possibly to release it near Christmas of 2025, so the end. And this does track with Daniel RPK's scoop about this, stating that Spider-Man 4 is going to start production and filming early 2025. However, according to Can We Get Some Toast, they share that Feige is spread way too thin and does not have the capacity to work on Spider-Man 4. However, they also state that Sony doesn't care and wants to release it in 2025 regardless. So this is why it's now believed that we are getting reports that are stating Marvel's moving some things back, like Blade to 2026 and possibly moving the Fantastic Four, because Marvel Studios doesn't want to release two films only 1 month apart from each other. But either way, no matter what happens, whether the Fantastic Four gets pushed back and we get Spider-Man June 2025, or Fantastic Four keeps its July release date and we get Spider-Man Christmas 2025, it's kind of dumb that Sony is basically making Marvel Studios do this. A lot of people have talked about this recently because of Madam Web, but it really does seem like Sony has a big disconnect with what the fans actually want right now. And honestly, I think just the best thing that Sony could possibly do with Spider-Man and the MCU right now is to just let Kevin Feige handle it. But here's the real problem. Spider-Man No Way Home was ultra successful. The two other Spider-Men, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, returning was epic. And because of that, it brought in a ton of money. And now we are in the multiverse saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so it makes sense to have a lot of multiversal films. So of course, we can definitely see why Sony would go, hey, you're in the multiverse saga. The last multiverse Spider-Man film we did was super successful. Do it again. Do it bigger, but that's not a part of Marvel Studios' plans. They're still building things up to Avengers the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Sony basically wants the next Spider-Man film to be Avengers Secret Wars. But of course, we all have heard now that Spider-Man is going to be one of the leads in the upcoming Avengers films, and Spider-Man still needs to grow a lot. And him being on his own will definitely help him grow to become a major superhero with a very important role to play in the overall multiverse saga with Avengers the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. So it really seems like Marvel Studios' plan would be a lot better. We might get a really cool Spider-Man movie if they really decided to go full out with a live action Spider-Verse film, but at the same time, we just got that with the last Spider-Man film. And if they did that, it would kind of take away from some of the really huge cameos that we could see in Avengers Secret Wars. Like if Tobey Maguire comes back and Andrew Garfield comes back in Spider-Man 4, then when they come back again in Secret Wars, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And it's not as special, really. So for me, a person who really did love Spider-Man No Way Home, who really loved the multiversal aspect of it, I still believe the next Spider-Man film should be grounded so that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield could return in Avengers Secret Wars and it be even more special. That and we could get so much more character growth and development for Spider-Man and Spider-Man 4 if it is a grounded film where he basically is kind of on his own. But that is just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. How would you like Spider-Man 4 to be? And let me know what your thoughts are about Sony kind of interfering with Marvel Studios. Leave your thoughts down below and please don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And if you want a chance to win a PS5, an Xbox Series X, or some Marvel Legends items, all you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment down below. We pick one random comment from one random video at the end of every single month. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.